You know I don't do sports. You know I don't do football, so I wasn't watching the game.
MAGA Bowl! We all care about secular festivals, whether we know we do or not. Isn't the Super Bowl the most impressive and powerful global sporting event? Some people might say it's the FIFA World Cup final because it brings together nations from across the world. But your nation is, as yet, the most powerful nation on earth, and the Super Bowl the most important and significant event. So, was the Super Bowl yesterday or last week, or however you want to term this thing? You could be watching this at any time in the future. For all I know, you're in a capsule floating through limitless space right now, looking at a destroyed planet and saying, why didn't they listen? The message was so clear. But let's assume that you're watching this right now in the relative present. Was yesterday the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs, or was it Donald Trump versus Taylor Swift? And what are those living synecdoches about, really? Ultimately, you could contest that Taylor Swift began as a Christian artist and was captured by the culture. And while she was not so overtly sexualized as some pop figures have been, she is no doubt a colonial object of the imperialist state. Donald Trump represents a billion things to a billion different people, but ultimately you could contest that he is a kind of nationalist figure, a re-emergence of a priapic America saying no to globalism, saying no to bureaucracy. I'm not making a moral evaluation of Donald Trump. Who am I to make a moral evaluation of anyone or anything? What you can say is that at that festival of the Super Bowl, while events on the field may not have been that fascinating, as I understand it was a relatively drab game, as a cultural artifact, it was important. Not just because of the halftime show, not just because of the commercials that Elon acquired, but who gets booed and who gets cheered. Who is winning the culture war and who will ultimately prevail? Who does America belong to? Who does light and love belong to? Ultimately, let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Let's get into this story together. Apparently, Trump got cheered. Swift got cheered. Is this the new America that we were promised? Let's get into it, baby. Nationalism, the establishment of the state. I'm not even talking about your fantastic country, the United States of America, and its peculiar and fascinating history, its breakaway from the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Why did you leave us? We could have used those taxes. We could have used them. King George was doing his very best. The idea of nations, even beyond America, is that there's a certain sovereign territory that agrees to a certain set of rules whose population are subject to its rules, its laws, and its taxes. The culture war is about whose rules and laws are we obeying and abiding by. For a minute, we had this surgent neoliberalism, which seemed to be telling us that America kind of belonged to this secularist, globalist, corporatized, let's pretend we care about the vulnerable, but we ain't doing much about it really, because look what happened in 2008, and who do you think was most impacted by events in 2008 under Barack Obama, when he was the most powerful man in the world, when the financial industry collapsed? Who do you think was most negatively impacted by that collapse? Was it billionaires and elites, or was it real, ordinary Americans crushed by it? It's obviously the latter. So any claims that the neoliberal left makes, and I'm talking about the cultural left, people that are on The View, sort of wringing their hankies and wringing their hands and dabbing their tears, they claim that they represent the America of the vulnerable, right? That's what they're saying. Oh no, the genocide, the blankets with smallpox. Oh no, slavery. Slavery was terrible. Smallpox blankets are bad. What's even worse than that is claiming to care about those issues simply to supplement and further empower the kind of institutional corporatized interest that Barack Obama and the neoliberal left plainly represent. If you don't believe me, just look at their shows on Netflix. Look at the ideas that they're conveying. Let me know in the comments and chat what you feel about that. If you're going to have a nation, you're probably going to end up with a nationalist president or leader at some point, Otherwise, nationalism itself starts to unweave and unravel, doesn't it? We've got a nation, right? It's the United States of America. Or do you want America to be co-opted by globalist corporatized interests that impact everything from free speech to agriculture to the food that you eat? Or do you want America and Americans to control America? Well, looking at the results of the last election, the people have spoken. They have spoken loud and clear. And it seems that they support Donald J. Trump. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. Very unforgiving. Very unforgiving. Beautiful people, but they won't forgive you. They won't forgive you. That's unforgiving is not a good quality, actually. We should be very, very forgiving. It's one of the key values that we should espouse. But the problem is that the legacy media and the whole sort of, democratic cultural movement has become so hypocritical that someone like Bobby Kennedy, who if you looked at it from some bizarre prismatic lens set around the mid-90s, Bobby Kennedy is, to the inverted commas, left of figures like Barack Obama and maybe even someone like Bernie Sanders. And who does he govern alongside now? Interesting. Why Taylor Swift getting booed at the Super Bowl was even more chilling than you think. It was chilling, but it's even more chilling. It's misogyny. It's racism. It's all of the words that we use to try and cling on to power for global corporations. It's not that chilling. I've been in stadiums before. People in crowds don't behave how you want them to unless you propagandize every aspect of public life. Now, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was apparently full of political messaging, and I suppose it's probably in alignment with hip-hop in general. I love hip-hop music. I love the way it emerged organically and naturally out of ghettoized communities and empowered people to use new forms of poetry. I love hip-hop. It's a great American modern art form that I reckon ranks alongside jazz and stand-up comedy as kind of representing our cultural and political moment beyond sides in some phony culture war. So let's see why Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance was so controversial, and let's see what Anna Navarro believes about it. Anna Navarro is one of the people off The View, I figure, and she says that Kendrick Lamar's halftime show is going to lead to Trump banning black people performing. I mean, I don't know how many of the players on the average NFL side are people of color, but I don't reckon that Trump is or has ever been the type of mad, old school, slave plantation racist that cultural commentators like to claim he is. For example, up until the point that he got involved in politics, Trump was pretty much a hip-hop hero, wasn't he? He was always cropping up in people's lyrics and bars the whole time, using him in a rhyme because he was an exemplifier of self-made, sort of, personal grandiosity, let's be honest. The kind of tycoon, entrepreneur symbol of American will, right? So you can't just suddenly turn him into a representative of racism, because I don't think Donald Trump actually operates within those parameters. I don't think he's a person who goes around being racist. I just don't think that's how he operates. But let me know what you think in the comments and chat, and let's see what they're saying over on The View, baby.
Yes.
What about you, Anna?
Okay, well, I don't do sports. I don't do football, so I wasn't watching the game. But listen. I think today Donald Trump is going to sign an executive order banning black people from halftime. Because you remember last week we were talking about...
Stop trying to make everything worse all the time. Let's look for ways to reconcile not only Americans with different political views, but the people of the world. This is it. This is your actual real life right now that you're living, where you're going to have children, where you're going to, God forbid, lose children, where your heart's going to get broken, where the people you love and care about are going to die. We have to align ourselves with higher principles. We cannot live in the giddying soup of tittle-tattle and condemnation and judgment. That is the realm of Lucifer. That is the counterfeit realm. That is the counterfeit realm of superficiality and surface, i.e., literally, racism is about skin-deep, cutaneous matters. Get beneath the skin, into the skeletal, into the cartilage, into the marrow deep love, glory, and light available to you and to me. Embrace it now. Free speech is under attack, but Rumble Premium refuses to back down. That's why you should use Rumble Premium. Support content creators like me and him and him and him and him. I'm going to say and her, but is there one? And her? Oh, Yeah, that's good. And her. With major advertisers conspiring to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their back, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. We're not here to fit a mold. We're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits. Grow up. For viewers and creators. It's more than a subscription. It's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using the promo code BRAND. Visit rumble.com/premium/brand and claim your discount today. Together we can turn the tide, whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching. Your support helps keep free speech alive. Go to rumble.com/premium/brand and use the code BRAND to get $10 off. Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course, went viral with his slightly reductive and, I would say, I'm going to go ahead and say stupid post saying that Super Bowl athlete... Curious that talented athletes frequently credit God when they win, but we rarely see them blame God when they lose. Yeah, why is that? Why would that be? Now, The Onion did a brilliant article about that maybe 20 years ago now, when they had a bunch of fictional basketball athletes going, like a basketball star says God really let him down when he missed that shot. So The Onion have already satirized that notion and that tendency. The principle of gratitude is one of the ways that we align ourselves with the mind of God. We cannot think God's thoughts. We are limited. The potential for knowledge is without limits. Neil deGrasse Tyson should know that because he's a science educator, isn't he? And astrologist. Astronomer. He's into the constellations of the stars, the limitless mysteries of the cosmos, an inheritor of the mantle of the great Carl Sagan, who, bringing mystery to millions through the explication and analysis of the cosmos, brings to light real love and beauty of the impossible grandeur of our universe that simply cannot have come about as a result of chaos. Athletes saying, I thank God, means that they are accrediting God with their dedication, their devotion, their loving family, the obstacles they've overcome and surmounted. Blaming God would be petulant, individualistic, and ridiculous. We live in a culture that sanctifies the role of the victim. Even that, by the way, is a Christian idea. Who is the ultimate victim that took on the sins of the world, bore them on himself, that you and I may be free from sin? So all the arguments that happen within the culture are using ideas and motifs borrowed from, robbed from Christian grammar. Anyway, and Neil deGrasse Tyson here advocates, as one might expect, for a kind of secularist, materialist worldview. If nothing is sacred, if nothing is holy, why don't we spend all our time just pursuing pleasure and personal glory? I would say athletes acknowledging God in their own apparent greatness is exactly what we want. Or brave people from the military saying that God protected them even when they've suffered terrible injury. I'm thinking about Sam Brown, potential future senator of Las Vegas, if it is God's will that he is confirmed. He, after losing his brother to suicide, after being terribly burned in an explosion, devotes himself to God, precisely because when bad things happen, that is God tuning us in, helping us to reach the high notes in his concerto of magical mystery and glory. We don't want to be down here in the bum-dums notes. We don't want to be down here in the mundial, in the claptrap and crap of Lucifer's kingdom. We thank and we praise God that God may use us as his vessel. And if the Super Bowl crowd are to be believed, they are starting to align again with virtues like the kingdom and the idea of the king. Although I would say Donald Trump is very much an earthly king, and I'm sure he wouldn't make any claims beyond that. And they are rejecting the idea of Taylor Swift, who, when they wanted to use her to win a presidential election, trot her out at some sort of conference or another, or use her endorsement to back up dud candidates like Biden and Kamala, who belong to the corporatized version of the left. They were happy to use her then. Well, they're not happy to hear the mandate reversed and rejected. The people have spoken, and the people have spoken on behalf of Donald Trump. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat? What you believe is so much more important than what I believe. We're all down here on our knees together, bowing before the king. At least that's the pose I would suggest. And I thank God for that.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.